Wait until you were done fixing your numbers,
Well,
then I was going to move.
The point of me fixing the numbers so I get a position to where you want to sit. Good now.
I'm better.
Hello, everyone. My name is Dominic DeMore, and thank you for tuning into the second best thing you were here all week. We have a great show for you that includes top-notch film reviews, the latest movie news, and assorted thoughts and opinions ranging from insightful to downright obnoxious. This is the I've Had Better Movies podcast. Let's kick it off. James, what do you have for the fans this week?
Hello, my name is James Langos. Welcome to the show. Each week, Dom and I will give you, the fans, a review of a film currently in theaters, or in the rare occurrence we can't afford to go to the movies that week. We will dig deep into our film libraries to break down an old great, or just a random piece of shit. That was my bad. I apparently thought that was way funnier than you did. This week's review is
The Divergent series, Allegiant.
That's right. Thank you.
James and I actually saw this film Saturday morning. We went to the 11:30 showing.
$6 holler.
Yeah, probably wasn't worth it. For those of you who are unaware, this movie is the third installment of the Divergent series. It stars Shailene Woodley.
Theo James.
Yeah, who plays the character 4. Zoe Kravitz, Miles Turner, and
Miles
Teller. There we go. And
Naomi Watts, Octavia Spencer.
I was going to go Ansel Elgort, but whatever.
And Jeff Daniels.
Yeah, talk about a waste of talent.
Somehow always gets to be in these weird sci-fi movies.
Mm-hmm.
All the time. And he's always a douchebag.
Yeah, he, considering the guy most memorable for me is Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah, absolutely.
So when you see it, and he's been in a lot of serious stuff, like his run on the Newsroom, I really liked that. The show wasn't great for its entire run, but I liked it. One of the most famous YouTube clips now, that Why Is America So Great? Like, you ever seen that?
Yes.
Yeah, I love that little clip. But okay, back to the movie. So the film takes place in a dystopian future revolving around a rundown Chicago where there are 4 separate factions. Each have to do with a different mentality, things like that. Then there are these people called Divergents, which is who Shailene Woodley is. And basically they don't fall into one category. They encompass them all. War kind of breaks out. Then they find out, like, oh shit, we're being watched by somebody. And now this movie is about them going out to find the people who are watching them. That's roughly the end of what I can actually explain about this movie. As far as plot-wise, I get like the small scope, but the big scope of things, I literally can't tell you what this movie was about.
Yeah, it was. It felt long.
Yeah,
like way longer than it should have been. There was way too much information being thrown at you the entire time. Well, obviously, I don't think either of us read the books, right?
No.
Okay, so we're going into this completely blind. Maybe for someone that did read the book, they might have a better understanding of what's going on. But it was a little confusing.
Yeah, like
simple plot, but all the details that added to the plot didn't make any sense.
Yeah, like I understand the goals of the good guys, but the bad guys, I have no idea what their goals were. Like, they talk about perfecting the human genome and things, and they said they did perfect it like 200 years ago, but now something went wrong, so they're trying to re-perfect it. And Shailene Woodley's character is perfect, but she's pure, but there are other pure people, so I don't really understand what the goal was. Some of the action was pretty decent. CGI was rough, though.
They didn't put the same amount of effort into this as they did the other one.
No, but it also helps, like, this is a different kind of movie. Like, because they spent most of the time in the first 2 films in that war-torn, rundown Chicago. And that looked really cool, just to see, like, oh, look at this building. Like, you can do a little bit more, like, physical stuff. But in this movie, they're out in the middle of a desert with weird-colored sand and, like, an orange sky.
It's supposed to be, like, after a nuclear blast.
Yeah, so you have to do a little bit more CGI stuff in there, but it just didn't work for me. Like it, especially when they started to do like the hovercraft stuff, it looked really fake.
And the acting was,
Yeah. There's only 2 performances in this movie who I am shameful of. That is Ansel Elgort and Miles Teller.
Yeah, Miles Teller just doesn't care.
Yeah, no, he was clearly phoning it in. Like he's a good young actor, but there were some.
He's not that young.
Yeah, we as Jim and I just realized he is actually 29, but yeah, he's a good actor who's been in some really good stuff like Whiplash. But in this movie, you could just see it. Every line he's delivering, he's overdoing it. Like he's trying to sound like too much of an asshole, or he's trying to sound like too whiny. And there are reports on the internet that he does not like being in these movies. The only reason he doesn't is because he's contractually obligated. And as soon as he blew up as a actor, the studio's like, yeah, you're staying in this movie, because realistically, he's the only real name.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, Shailene Woodley, she's
good.
She's a name, but she hasn't been in like, this is her biggest franchise.
Oh yeah.
Ansel Elgort, same. He was in The Fault in Our Stars with Shailene Woodley, but aside from that, you can't really say he was in anything too special. And then it's a whole bunch of other young kids.
Yeah.
In my opinion, the best actor of the bunch might be Zoe Kravitz. I really like her work.
I do too.
Yeah,
she's not in a crazy amount of the movie.
No,
which I think also helps her to make her look better.
It does, but I think she's sinfully underused. Like, she showed action chops in this movie that made me think I'd really like to see her. And I wrote this in my article because the world's now dominated by these franchises and these comic book movies. I would absolutely love to see her in a Marvel or DC movie, partially because those worlds are so non-diverse. It's all white, basically. Like, they're starting to get a little better, but I would love to see a young, especially, that's the other part, she's young.
Yeah. I've got one comment and then a question for you.
Go ahead.
I could see her in like a Columbiana type movie.
Like that's a Zoe Saldana film.
Yeah, something like that. And if she was in a Marvel movie, what character would you like her to be?
First on the Columbiana, I don't hate that idea. The only problem is I think a little bit more talented vocalies as she can speak better, and those are fairly silent roles, like very isolated. So while I'd like to see her in like the spy type film / assassin, which is
going for more action type movie.
Yeah, what you're getting toward, and I would love to see that. But I think she's great with dialogue. She's, in my opinion, she has the line of the entire movie when they get into that helicarrier thing and
Jeff Daniels thing.
Yeah, Jeff Daniels' little helicopter thing. And she sits on Ansel Elgort's lap, because as they're walking up, I'm thinking of it. I was like, there's only 2 seats. Where are they going to sit? And she sits on his lap, and she turns around and it's like, hands to yourself or I'm throwing you out the window. Mm-hmm. Like, it was the line of the movie for me, the only one I remember.
Perfectly timed.
Yeah. So that was real impressive. As for if I was going to cast her in a Marvel movie, in my head, she fits better in DC. Because she's young, I think she's got some serious acting chops, and I think she could bring some real fresh air. I would cast her as Vixen.
I don't know who Vixen is.
Yeah, not a lot of people do. She's becoming more and more popular. Like, she just appeared on Arrow, the CW TV show. Mm-hmm. Vixen is a hero out of Detroit. I
like it already.
Yeah, she has this magic totem, like a necklace around her neck, and it holds the spirits of all the animals in the animal kingdom. So she like touches it or she thinks about it, and suddenly she gets the strength of a gorilla, the speed of a cheetah. She can fly like a falcon.
So like Ace Ventura on steroids.
A little bit. So I'd love to see her in that. She's a little short for the role.
That's what the beauty of movie magic is.
Yeah, but I also think
make Tom Cruise look 6'5".
That, and also it could play really well, like when she calls on the power of an elephant. If she's this 5-foot girl who then can bowl over Superman.
Yeah, that's true.
I think that would be cool. Marvel wise, it's a little tougher, because we already know they're coming, because they're so far planned out.
Yeah.
that
They've already have a lot of people lined up to be.
Yeah, so I could see her in Guardians of the Galaxy somewhere. There's
sure.
There's a lot of small characters who aren't well known, like most of the Guardians of the Galaxy.
She could be in Star Trek too.
Yeah, they already got Zoe Saldana, and plus, let's face it, Star Trek's dying.
She will be. I'm just saying she could have been.
Did we discuss that trailer?
I don't think so.
Did we drop that? Yeah, because I hate that trailer.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. So okay, on to somebody else. Theo James, I also really liked.
Yeah. I mean, his acting's not the best.
No,
but he's a good-looking, jacked,
pretty much like
guy
that
all ladies love.
Yeah, his delivery wasn't horrible. I've liked him in all the movies he's done. Like Underworld Awakening is not a good movie, but I enjoyed him in that. Yeah. Again, he did really great action in this film. Like,
oh yeah,
I felt like he was a badass. Like,
yeah, his fight scenes are very impressive.
Yeah, so for him, I was thinking Hal Jordan, the Green Lantern, because
are they still trying to do a gay Green Lantern character?
Nope, pretty sure that was never a thing.
Are you sure? That was just an internet thing that they
made up? Was probably an internet thing.
Okay. Well, they had me going.
Yeah. Yeah. Not that I'm aware of. But there is the next Green Lantern film was supposed to be a buddy cop movie. Space buddy cop. Where they're going to have Hal Jordan, who is the character Ryan Reynolds played in the first Green Lantern, who is the traditional Green Lantern from the comics. And they're also going to do Jon Stewart, who is the one that most of us know of our generation because he was on the Justice League TV cartoon show where he's an African American Green Lantern. So teaming them up, it could be like a Lethal Weapon in space kind of deal.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
I like the concept.
Yeah, so I like the idea of having him as the Hal Jordan character because when he's a serious character, but when he has those comedic moments in Allegiant, they are funny. Mm-hmm. They're few and far between, but he has a really solid delivery on timing. Yeah, but like we said, this movie is awful. We're saying a lot of good things about it, but that's just because we're trying to be a little more positive.
Yeah, even if you put all these good things into one movie, it still doesn't make it a great film.
Yeah, no. Like Shailene Woodley, her character's wasted. Like,
yeah, I felt like she was a lot better in the first and second one.
Yeah, like I felt like they betrayed everything that they talked about in the first two. Like, she's this strong, independent woman, and then in this third installment, she turns into like, no, we have to figure this out, and like,
yeah, like she's relying on Jeff Daniels' character.
Yeah, and going against Four, who she's been in love with.
David, that's his name.
Yeah, David is Jeff Daniels' character.
Yeah, she lost her backbone.
She did. So
because David played into her mother, it was actually maybe that was part of it.
Yeah,
that could have been that. I don't know.
Yeah. So the movie's not. I do have to give it credit though. When it comes to a third installment or second to last installment of a book series, it did well on that front. Like, this felt like its own movie.
Yeah.
It didn't feel at all until...
It wasn't ended short. They didn't leave you hanging like a cliffhanger like Hunger Games did.
Yeah, there's a beginning, there's a middle, there's an end. Like, at the end, like, you're still like, okay, now shit's about to go down, but there is a reason that they're doing everything in this movie. And it's not purely to get to that last movie. Yep. So, I have to give kudos for that. But even that can't save it. Let's go on to our ratings. Like I said, even that fact couldn't save it. It was disappointing. Better than the second one, not as good as the first. So on a scale of 1 to Good Will Hunting, I give it 4 out of 10 apples.
I was thinking 4 or 5 too. I'm right in that same boat. But I think I'm gonna go with like a 4.5.
Yeah, I waffled back and forth on 4 and 4.5. For a while.
Could you do a 4.25?
Nope, it doesn't deserve that. Because literally, I was thinking, like, what was the goal of the bad guys? Like, I cannot tell you. Like, okay, so I know that the whole city of Chicago...
Who is even the bad guys?
Is it Jeff Daniels or is it somebody bigger? So, like, what is Chicago just an experiment? Is there a reason behind it? Are they just doing it to do it? Like, I can't give you any of these answers, so I can't give this better than a 4.
It's too much like Maze Runner for me.
This third installment felt like a Maze Runner movie.
Yeah.
Which is weird because I actually like the Maze Runner movies.
Yeah, they're interesting, and at the time when they both came out, I didn't think they would relate to anything else, but now they relate to this. So I don't know how I feel about them.
Yeah. Separate note, did you hear that the main character, the Dylan O'Brien, got injured on the set?
Yeah.
I haven't been able to find what actually happened to him, but apparently he got pretty screwed up.
Yeah, I mean, the director was pretty shaken up about it.
Yeah, and they have to shut down production for
a couple weeks.
Yeah, at least 3 weeks, I heard.
Yeah. I mean, but they kept saying that it wasn't anything life-threatening. So I'm imagining that he just broke a couple bones.
Yeah, probably. Like he broke an ankle or something like that.
Yeah, but for an ankle, you got to shut down production for more than a couple weeks, don't you?
It depends on like what they have him doing for those. Like Jackie Chan broke his ankle in Mr. Nice Guy.
Jackie Chan's a beast.
Yes, he is, but it's one of those. Or Shia LaBeouf, like
he's nuts.
Yeah, but he broke his hand and they just wrote it into the script.
Yeah.
So
ankle's a little more. If it was like an arm, I could see them doing that.
Yeah, but it's one of like production right now is shut down. They're not filming.
Yeah.
When they come back, it could be one of those things where they rework it to where it's like, all right, we have 19 times that Dylan O'Brien is sitting down in this movie. Let's film 15 of those right now.
Yeah.
So, but all right.
Good point.
So that was our review of Allegiant. Let us know what you guys thought either in the comment section below or go ahead and email us at ihbpodcast@gmail.com or just hit one of us up on Twitter or the Twitter page itself at ihbpodcast and let us know what your rating was. As I said in the intro, in addition to the top-notch film reviews, we also like to give you guys the most recent film news around the industry. So we're going to kick it off with some interesting news about an old video game favorite and a new starlet. Daisy Ridley burst onto the scene this past year with her role as Rey in the box office behemoth Star Wars The Force Awakens. While we already know she is busy filming the next film in the series, it appears another franchise is looking towards the young actress to breathe new life into the material. Ridley herself has confirmed that she is in talks to play Lara Croft in the rebooted Tomb Raider series. James, what do you think of the casting and the reboot in general?
I love the reboot idea. I probably shouldn't like the Angelina Jolie Tomb Raider movies as much as I did.
Even the second one? Even Cradle of Life?
I mean, they weren't...
Was that Cradle of Life? It was Cradle of Life.
I don't remember which was first.
I feel like it was something about Pandora's Box, but I don't think that was in the title.
Yeah, I think that was the first one, and then the second one was... Or was that the other way around?
I think it was the other way around.
What was the first one about then?
They had to go to that place in the Arctic.
Oh, the eclipse. The solar eclipse?
It was something like that. I know Daniel Craig was in it.
Yeah, Daniel Craig was in the first one, then Gerard Butler was in the second one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Both of those movies were entertaining. Angelina Jolie was easy on the eyes too, which helps. But I love Daisy Ridley. I loved her in Star Wars. So I'm excited that she's going to be redoing in the reboot. I'm excited for it. I love the video game too, by the way.
Yeah. I recently played the most recent one. It's a really good game. I didn't play him as a kid. I don't really know why. I just never got into it. But I'm intrigued by this casting. Like it's not officially a casting yet, but she is in talks, heavy talks to play the role. The only question I have is with her Star Wars commitment. When is this movie going to come out? Are we looking at like 2020? Because she filmed episode 7. They wrapped that up. Film premiered in December, and then she's already back filming now for episode 8. So, short of something happening to her character in episode 8, she's probably going to be locked up for another 2 years from this point. So, does that mean this movie's coming out, like I said, 2020? And then if they don't, I am worried about not fatigue, but
she's young.
She is, but so is Jennifer Lawrence, and I'm a little fatigued with her. This one is a different from Jennifer Lawrence though, because with her, I'm worried because it is a box office franchise type movie. Like I would love to see her once she gets done with her Star Wars, go into like something dramatic, just to expand a little bit. It's not a big issue, and she'll probably do fine with it, and she's going to have a lot of time to do something more dramatic. But it would be interesting to see her go from this strong character in Star Wars, which we know she is, to maybe do something vulnerable, and then maybe come back to something strong again.
And she may have time if this isn't going to come out till 2020 or something like that, or 2019, she might have time to do that. We'll see.
Yeah.
I mean, Star Wars has to give her some, a few months here and there. Maybe she'll do an indie film at some point to where she can be vulnerable.
Yeah.
Hopefully her agents and our managers are smart enough to do that for her.
Mm-hmm. Plus, you have to respect the fact that she actually has an English accent.
Yes.
And you don't have to rely on Angelina Jolie faking hers.
Yes.
You were born in L.A. Your dad's John Voight. What the hell?
Dominic wrote this, by the way, but I'm going to read it because he's going to laugh. And I'm sure you guys will too. If you are a fan of whips like I am, then many of you should be excited to learn that Indiana Jones will be returning to the silver screen, with Harrison Ford set to reprise his role as the main character and hit theaters in 2019. Steven Spielberg himself has confirmed the story and has also stated he intends to direct. Dom, are you still interested in this franchise despite the awful the Crystal Skull movie of only a few years ago?
Obviously I'm intrigued because it's Spielberg and it's Harrison Ford, and Harrison Ford is coming off of Star Wars, so. But at the same time, he's going to be old as dirt when this movie comes out.
Let's find out how old Harrison Ford actually is.
Yeah. The only other reason I'm really skeptical about this is I'm curious how Spielberg's going to handle it. Because while Spielberg's great, and obviously he's the GOAT, he's the greatest of all time, but I feel like he doesn't have that great of a grasp on like green screen work. He's great when it comes to practical effects, but like in my head, when I go back to the last Indiana Jones movie, like I see them swinging through the forest on those like vines with monkeys chasing them, and it did not look good. And like as a director of his caliber, I can't imagine him seeing that and be like, you know what, looks good, we're gonna keep it. So hopefully they go for more of a grounded feel, which I think they might, because of how disastrous the last one was. And there's rumors that the last Indiana Jones was the product of George Lucas, that it was fully like it was his story. He wrote it, and Spielberg only made it because he's like, you know what? George Lucas has helped me a lot over the years. I want to make the movie that George wants to make.
Yeah, Harrison Ford will be 78 at that point. So he's going to be up there. I don't deny that he can still act at that point. I mean, Clint Eastwood did it in Gran Torino. He was phenomenal.
Yeah, but the most physical thing he did was lift a beer can to his mouth and occasionally make a pointing sign with his finger.
No, he lifted a rifle. And he shoved some Asians.
He shoved some Asians.
I didn't want to use the profanity that he uses.
Yeah, let's avoid that on this podcast. We accepting of all creeds, races, and religions.
Yeah. But I agree with you on the CGI thing. I think they need to go back to Raiders of the Lost Ark, Temple of Doom.
Raiders of the Lost Ark has some bad visual effects in that. Like when they do the face melting at the end when they open the Covenant.
Yeah, I agree. But it was in, 70 something?
Probably right around there.
Yeah. So that's fine. But the rest of
I think it was later than that. It was like mid-80s.
Whatever it was. They don't need to use all the CGI for these movies at all. I think it's just a terrible idea. Because you're going into the past. Why do you need to bring up all the CGI stuff? Mm-hmm. And I pray to God that this one does not have aliens.
I think that's a collective agreement that everybody's like, no aliens. Avoid them at all costs. But it is one of those things. It's also like, how do you retcon that? Like, because either there's two schools of thoughts of what's go on with this movie. There's either following a similar line that the Indiana Jones film, the last one did, where they brought in Shia LaBeouf to be, supposedly he was supposed to take over the series, but
he went nuts.
Yeah, and the film flopped, so It did okay, but I mean, didn't do what they wanted, and the movie was a disaster critically. So there's thought that they'll bring in another young star to go along with Harrison Ford.
Chris Pratt.
Or then there's the other theory that they'll do a split movie kind of deal where Harrison Ford is doing some kind of adventure, but there's also going to be a flashback story that happens simultaneously that could star somebody like Chris Pratt.
Chris Pratt needs to be in this movie.
Yeah.
They need to lock him up.
What I heard this the other day. What do you think about them, like Disney casting the same person who they cast as the young Han Solo as the young Indiana Jones? Like, how cool would that be? Like, if they were ballsy enough to do it.
Can you do Chris Pratt in both those roles?
Chris Pratt, from what I've heard, is not being considered for Star Wars.
Well, he should be.
Yeah, the short list I heard for Star Wars Han Solo is Taron Egerton, who is we've talked about several times on the show already, from Kingsman. I can't remember his name, and I would butcher it even if I did, but the character that you and I both actually liked from Hail Caesar.
Oh,
the cowboy young actor.
Western.
Yeah. He's got a complicated last name that I don't remember. I apologize. And then I think I probably should have looked this up before I brought it up, but I can't remember the names. But the Australian racer from Transformers 4.
Alden Ehrenreich?
It's like Algorridge or something
like that.
Yeah, so that guy. And then look up Transformers 4 for me.
Are you sure?
I mean, we should probably just avoid this one at all costs. And from what I hear, this kid's actually not a bad actor, and he's got a good attitude for being Han Solo, so that's why he's being considered. But
does he look like Han Solo?
He's young and he's blondish.
What was his name?
Look for a young male.
Jack Rayner?
That is him. I think I actually got it right. I wish I would have said that one out loud.
But said it right in my head.
But yeah, he's the other one who's being rumored for the role. Personally, I don't want any of them to be Indiana Jones, but just the concept that they could cast the same person is interesting to me. So, do you have a preference? Would you prefer a setup like they did in the last movie, where it's Harrison Ford going on an adventure with somebody who could potentially take over the Indiana Jones role / franchise for himself? Or do you prefer the split timeline kind of deal where he's doing an adventure by himself and then also there's a storyline from the past?
I think the split timeline seems difficult to do because you have Harrison Ford older going. I just don't understand the logistics of it. It doesn't make sense to me. But I think I also don't really want another Shia LaBeouf nightmare.
I don't think any of us do.
But they have to at least lead into a new character, right? That's the only reason they're doing this.
Yeah, this has to be a franchise. Like, it's Indiana Jones. Like, I don't know. It probably won't be as prevalent in Star Wars, but we're probably going to get at least 3 more Indiana Jones. Like, and they all can't have Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
What do you think about this? I haven't heard anybody bring this up, but I think it would be cool as hell. What if they did a split thing, but in the later timeline, the one that actually has Harrison Ford, they cast Steven Yeun from The Walking Dead, Glenn, as Short Round. They brought that character back.
I'm not opposed to it.
They brought that character back, and you know, like the first one, it is racist because the way they make him say. But it could be perfect if they bring him back now and have him speak perfect English and be like, "Yeah, Dr. Jones, I get it. I used to speak very broken English, but I don't now, you crazy old man."
Yeah.
That would be so cool.
That would be cool. But I think the studio is going to be afraid to go back down that road.
Probably.
Just for publicity reasons.
Yeah, I get it. But I mean, it would be cool to see if Steven Yeun get a little more movie acting work.
Yeah, because he's a good actor.
Yeah, I like him. So those are our thoughts on the film. Let us know what you guys think of the film. by either commenting on our Facebook page, that's the I've Had Better podcast page, or like us on Twitter, follow either James or I, or just, like this video and subscribe and follow us even more. Former founder of Napster, Sean Parker, has announced his intention to create a streaming service that would allow fans to watch new films in the comfort of their own homes the same weekend they debut in theaters. The way the service works is after an upfront cost for the box itself, customers can pay $50 to watch a film as many times as they want for 2 days without even leaving their home. James, would you be interested in this service? Why or why not?
It sounds like a very interesting thing to be able to see a movie that is going to be released at home on its opening weekend without having to deal with theater crap. But $50 is kind of a lot.
Yeah, it is steep.
I could see the more fortunate side of the U.S. actually doing that just to avoid lines at the theaters or anything like that. But you still don't get that movie atmosphere, that large screen with the surround sound speakers, popcorn. I mean, movie theater popcorn's the best.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you're not paying. What is it, like $6 for $8 for a large thing of popcorn?
I think it's more than that.
Like $15. I don't get large popcorn because it's too expensive, so I don't even know.
I rock the junior.
But it's an interesting idea. I don't know if it'll actually work because $50 is a lot of money just to see a movie. I mean, and how many times are you going to watch it in 2 days?
Yeah. I think the concept behind this is...
It's headed in the right direction.
Yeah, I think the concept behind it is for movies to be treated like UFC fights or pay-per-view events, to where you're not supposed to watch this movie by yourself. Or
so you get a couple friends over and you watch
that, or it's designed for families, to where it's like, because most parents, until your kid is like 9 or 10, you can't really take them to the movie theater without annoying everybody else. So
unless it's like a Disney
movie. Yeah, which you like, for me personally, like when I walked into Zootopia, I had a small child sitting like 10 feet from me who cried the entire time, but I didn't get mad because I was a 24-year-old man watching Zootopia, so I can't really say anything.
You might not want to say anything.
Yeah, no,
you keep that to yourself.
But it's one of those things where you and your wife want to see this movie, but you can't find a sitter. Realistically, it's cheaper to do this.
Yeah, and I mean, trying to take a family of 5 to movies, you're paying at least $10 a ticket.
Oh, yeah.
So you're at 50 right there.
Oh yeah.
And you know what? I wonder if you can pause it, which I'm sure you can. You can pause it. Your kid can go to the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
Or if they spill pop everywhere, you can clean that up.
Yeah. 2 major directors have actually come out and endorsed this idea. J.J. Abrams, who in the previously mentioned Force Awakens, he directed that, and Peter Jackson, the director of the Lord of the Rings series. But on the other end, 2 directors have also panned it and said this is the worst idea to ever hit cinema, and that's Christopher Nolan and James Cameron.
Yeah, it just takes away from the movie experience.
It does, and that, and like it could potentially kill
movie theaters.
Yeah, like, I mean, movie theaters are also already a shaky business to start with because there's so much overhead and the returns aren't great. And if you get 30 people not buying popcorn to go see a movie, you can really hurt your bottom line.
Yeah, the thing that it doesn't hurt is the studios. I think studios are going to make a crazy amount of money off this because they can probably throw in commercials, a bunch of advertising into this. And who's going to get the money of that? I bet you Sean Parker's not going to get all of it.
Yeah, no. But it's also one of those things, like, if they were to throw commercials and stuff in there, there would probably be a revolt. Like,
well, there might be, I meant previews, not so much 15 minutes in a commercial type of thing.
I get that. But I'm curious if the studios would actually back it because they've got a fairly sweet deal right now at the movie theaters. Yeah, and it's one of those things where, like, the return, I'm sure, is really good if you pay, like, okay, take me, for example. If I bought this service this weekend, you and I are going to see Batman vs. Superman on Thursday. I am going to see Batman vs. Superman probably 2 times this weekend, if not 3 times. So that's just me by myself.
That's like $30.
Yeah. But if I would have had this service, I probably watched it 4 or 5 times. And also watch it with you. I probably have my brother over to watch it. And those are 2 people who probably won't go to the theater now to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it'll work out because you're going to get those people who like buy the service. They're the only one who watches it, and you get $30 free basically. And there's going to be those people who's like, hey, these 6 people are going to come to my house on Friday. These 7 people are going to come to my house on Saturday, and then I'm going to watch it again by myself on Sunday.
Think about it. We can make some money off of this.
We could
charge like $8 instead of $10 at the theaters.
Oh, easily. Just put little flyers into like everybody in my neighborhood. Just like, hey, don't need a babysitter. You're going to be right next door.
Yeah, we'll paint your garage door white. Get a big projector. Surround sound.
I like it. Bring back the drive-in.
Exactly.
All right, so just as a final wrap-up note, would you buy this service now? If not, at what price point do you consider actually doing it?
Maybe 25 or 30. I'd probably consider it. Because then I know I can get at least 3-4 people over to watch it with me, and they can at least help cut some of that cost down. Even the 50 at that point. I mean, splitting it 3 ways isn't as bad.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's practically what you pay now for an XD movie.
Yeah.
Personally, I wouldn't do it now at 50. It would have to get down to around at $20. I'd probably do it. But if I wasn't doing a movie review podcast, I don't know if I would have, because I love going to movies. There's nothing better for me than like going into a movie theater. I love going to movies by myself. I love going with friends. I go all the time with my parents. So I sit in my house enough already. I like going out.
I agree. Yeah. There's nothing that beats the movie experience.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of our earlier story involving Steven Spielberg, The Hollywood Reporter is now saying Simon Pegg is in talks to star in Spielberg's next film, Ready Player One, that is set to begin production in June. Dom and I have referenced this film in the past, but the story is described as set in a virtual world called Oasis, in which a teenager finds himself competing in a treasure hunt against ruthless foes after the game's founder dies, and his fortune is left as the grand prize. Pegg will play Organ Morrow.
Yeah.
We're just going to go with that. The co-creator of Oasis. Dom, does Pegg's casting intrigue you for the project? And give us your overall thoughts.
Ironically enough, the fact that Simon Pegg is cast in this movie does very little for me.
You don't like Simon Pegg?
I like him. I just feel like he needs a role outside. Like, he's in Star Trek fantasy. He was in, not that most people knew, but he was in Star Wars fantasy. He was recently in that movie Paul, science fiction fantasy. Like, I want to see him step outside.
Mission Impossible, but he plays the same character.
Yeah, like he's that like goofy, like, and I guarantee in this movie he's going to be some kind of quirky. Although
he does it very well.
The only way, I haven't read the book, like I say, so I might be totally wrong. And if this guy turns out to be a bad guy, I'm all for it, because he's a co-creator. When I read that in my head, I'm like, all right, so if the founder dies and this guy's the co-creator, sounds like a jilted business partner. So that intrigues me. But when it comes to his casting itself, again, not too interested. I also, the lead character, Ty Sheridan, who was cast in this movie.
He's my boy.
I don't like him.
I love him.
Why?
I don't know.
Just because of Mud?
Mud was a good movie. And I liked him in that zombie movie, too.
He was good, but, I mean, he was the third most interesting character in that movie.
I'm not going to lie. The other two, you talking to the two young kids that was in it, they were good, too.
Yeah.
What was that movie called?
Scout's Guide to Zombie Apocalypse.
Yeah.
Sneaky good. James and I
very
went and
sneaky.
saw that just like because we had nothing else to do. Like, but blew me away with how good it was. That deserved to do better.
It was a good R-rated zombie movie.
Mm-hmm.
It was a lot like Zombieland.
It was
in the comedy.
Mm-hmm. But what are your thoughts on it?
It just doesn't really do anything for me. I don't think Simon Pegg is a game changer actor. I don't think he makes me want to go see a movie. I mean, I'd probably go see it anyway because Spielberg's directing, but Simon Pegg does nothing.
Simon Pegg can be the best part of a movie, but he's not that character who you're like, yeah, I know he's going to be the best part, and I want to go see him.
Yeah, he doesn't get you out of your home to go see him.
Yeah, I don't want to really go to a movie where Simon Pegg is the best part of the movie.
Yeah, no, not in any way. Yeah. Like you don't go see Mission Impossible to go see Simon Pegg.
No, it was Tom Cruise and Rebecca Ferguson. She was great. I can't wait till she's in more stuff. Like, she needs to be cast as Miss Marvel right now. I don't know why these people are all dragging their feet. They're probably waiting until Emily Blunt is no longer pregnant so they can stick her in another movie. But Jesus, do I want Rebecca Ferguson in that
Emily
role.
Blunt is booked up.
Yes, she is.
Moving on. Next up, we have the box office battle.
Wah, wah, wah.
A competition for bragging rights between friends who want nothing more than to prove they know more than the other guy, and who buys the first round of drinks this week, of course. I don't think we actually ever followed up on this.
No, because we're boring people who don't go out. All we do is see movies. When are we ever going to actually drink?
Maybe we should trade out buying movies.
That would be a good... That gets expensive quick, though.
Yes, it does.
I'd much rather buy you a beer than buy you a movie.
Fair enough. How the game works is each week, my co-host and I will predict the top 5 films at the box office. Whoever gets the closest to the correct order wins the point for the week. The results for this week's box office are as follows. Surprisingly, holding on to the number 1 spot for the third week in a row was the Disney animated film Zootopia, earning $38 million and taking its domestic total to over $200 million for its 3-week run. Debuting in second place in what can only be described as disappointing was Lionsgate's The Divergent series Allegiant, earning $29.1 million, more than $20 million less than the previous 2 installments opened up with. In third place, we see another newcomer to the list with the faith-based film Miracles from Heaven, earning $15 million. Fourth place belongs to 10 Cloverfield Lane, dropping off nearly 50% from last week's total with $12.5 million. And rounding out the top 5 was The Merc with the Mouth, Deadpool pulling in an additional $8 million for a global total of over $700 million. Dom, what are your thoughts on this week's box office? And tell the fans your picks for next week.
Well, to start off with, James did reclaim the top spot in the box office. But in my defense, the second after we stopped recording, I turned to him and said, "You're going to win because we were super close in our picks, and I had Miracles from Heaven in 5th place, and I was like, okay, that movie's going to do way better."
There's no proof of you ever saying that.
There is proof somewhere. I just probably deleted it.
Fair enough.
Yeah, but James and I, we each had all 5 of the top 5 movies correct, just jumbled up. And to be honest, I don't think a lot of people expected Zootopia to be number 1. In its third week, competing against Allegiant, which is a franchise film. Each of the previous 2 installments made over $50 million. My mother texted me, so that was that ding.
You're forgiven.
Yeah. So I was extremely surprised at the fact that they did that, and only falling off like 25% from last week. Super impressive. Yeah. Allegiant.
Yeah.
It's not a horrible number.
Yeah, but it's not what they wanted.
No, they have to be disappointed.
They needed something bigger than that.
Yeah. Like I read a story online that as a result of their opening weekend, Lionsgate's stock actually went down.
Yeah. Because
they're like, wow. Because Lionsgate's major films, this is one of them, and they have another one coming out next year that's already being filmed.
I think people are just tired of the book series going 4 movies.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, wait, there's going to be a 4th one? I'm not going to go see the 3rd one. I'll just wait till it comes out on DVD or something like that.
And this story is real. Like, the first movie was... I enjoyed it.
I thought it was good, too.
The first 2 acts, I really enjoyed. It fell apart for me near the end when they actually had that whole, like, problem. Like, it also helps. I have a weird obsession with movies that involve training. My favorite part of Kingsman is when they're going through all those trials to actually be a Kingsman. And then the last, the actual, like, world's going to blow up, we have to save it. It was good, but my favorite parts of those movies are, like,
I agree.
Training.
They're the most interesting.
Yeah. Like, I love world building. So, and I think the Divergent series, they just fail at that. Like, after the first one, I couldn't tell you what the second one was about, and I know I've seen it at least twice. In this movie, I couldn't tell you what this one's about, and I will not be seeing it twice.
Yeah.
Fourth place, Miracles from Heaven. Talked about that. It was on over 3,000 screens, close to the Easter season. I am not surprised by the amount of movie it pulled in, the amount of money it pulled in. 15 million is a really good number, though, especially for faith-based movies. Have been killing it lately. Between that, Risen, there was another one a couple weeks ago that I can't think of. But.
What's the other one that's coming out?
And then rounding out the top five with another $8 million. Impressive. I mean, you can't doubt that. And over $700 million globally. From what I hear, I think taking on seventh place on the top 10 comic book movies of all, grossing movies of all time. It's going to end up as the highest grossing X-Men movie of all time. Super impressive. A couple of numbers of note. The Brothers Grimsby, a movie that I reviewed last week, and we talked about bombing. Another bad week, dropping off 57% down to 1.4 million this week for a total of 6 million on a budget of 35 million. And next week, you gotta figure it's probably gonna make $1 million max. So that's a major bomb. And then there's The Bronze, which was my worst movie of the year. I gave it a 2 out of 10 apples. It completely deserves this number that it got. Made just over $400,000.
Did it make $400,000?
It made $421,000 on over 1,100 screens. Yeah, so, for the record, that was beaten out by a movie called The Lady in the Van. It's got Maggie Smith, a.k.a. Professor McGonagall from the Harry Potter series, where she plays this insane, lonely, it's a dramatic, like, semi-Oscar bait movie where she lives in a van and befriends this married couple. That movie made more money than The Bronze did. I think it took in roughly $450,000.
How many screens was it on?
I think no, it was actually on like 361 screens, but less than a third of the screens. And this in its 16th week, and this movie made more.
That's pretty rough.
Yeah, this week is a fairly rough week. Maybe just a lot of people are gearing up for Batman vs Superman this week, so that's the only bet I can get. What are your thoughts on anything stand out to you from this week?
No, it was a pretty boring week. Nothing really changed. Of course, Zootopia. I don't know. Maybe Allegiant not doing as well as it should have. It's the only thing that stands out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So with that being said, are my picks for this week, which I fully plan to regain the top spot, but I already know Jim's pick, so we'll see. The man has a gift. I don't know what it is.
Useless gifts. I got them all. Not going to help me in my life whatsoever.
He has a very particular set of skills that cannot help anybody.
That's true.
So my number one is going to be obvious. It's Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice. They're going to punch this box office into oblivion. They're going to make Zootopia crap its pants. We're talking about little rabbit pellets everywhere. Yeah, I know biology. I know how that works. This movie's gonna make bank. I'm predicting over 200 million. Might be wrong. Projections right now are saying 140 to 170
opening
weekend. But
what's the top opening?
Star Wars at like 249.
249.
Yeah,
that's a big number.
It is not gonna get there.
That is a big number.
Yeah. But I think it'll make 200 million. I think pre-sales are already over 50 million, so we'll see.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. In second place, I do have Zootopia.
Not going to crap his pants that much.
Not so much. But, I mean, it had such a small drop-off this week, and you got to figure that there's going to be a lot of counter-programming out there because people who don't want to take their kids to see the little bit of a violent Batman vs. Superman, they'll take them to see.
Yeah, it's a movie that could have been rated R.
Yeah. The director's cut is actually going to be rated R. Did you see that story?
Yeah.
That's insane.
I believe we talked about that in the podcast.
Okay, cool. Good thing I pay attention. In third place, I have Jimmy's new favorite, My Big Fat Greek Wedding 2.
Hell yeah.
it was in the original made over almost $400 million worldwide. It looks good. Another one of those counter programming movies. Like, I would want to go see this movie. My mom probably wants to go see this movie, and other people who are like, I don't really feel like going to see Batman vs Superman will probably, and who don't want to see animated rabbits and foxes, they might go see My Big Fat Greek Wedding 2. In fourth place, I have Allegiant. I expect it to drop off severely. If it gets
probably like 12, maybe
12 is a good number. I think if they get $15 million, they have to be at least semi like, all right, we dropped off less than 50% this week.
Yeah.
And then rounding out the top 5, I have Miracles from Heaven, simply because it's Easter weekend. James, your picks.
And of course, I also have Batman vs Superman at number 1.
If you didn't, I would kick you off the podcast.
Yeah, understandably so, because that'd be a dumb guess.
It really would be. Almost as bad as, what was the horrible guess you had the first week?
It was 13 Hours.
Yeah, that was it.
You gotta take risks.
Yeah, I mean, it's worked out for you the last 5
I learned
weeks.
my lesson. At number 2, I have My Big Fat Greek Wedding 2, because every Greek in the U.S. will probably go see this movie.
Yeah, and Jim will be disowned if he didn't pick it.
Yeah, it'd be kind of embarrassing if I didn't pick this one. And it is not a Greek Easter this weekend, so that is another reason I think a lot of people will go see it, because we've got time for Easter. Number 3, Zootopia, just because it's going to be up there again, and it's not going to drop, because
even a 50% drop off still puts it at like 18 to 19 million.
Yeah, all the kids that didn't see it in the first 3 weeks are going to go see it now. Allegiant, I kind of in the same spot. I think it's probably going to do 12 or 13 million. It's not going to do any more than that. And then at 5, I've got Miracles from Heaven, because it is your American Easter coming up.
Yeah, so our battle comes down to how much the Greeks come out to support.
It's going to be big. It's going to be real big.
Let us know what your guys' top 5 are. Go ahead and either tweet us at IHB Podcast, send us an email to ihbpodcast@gmail.com, or just hit one of us up on Twitter and let us know what your top 5 are going to be. And with that, we're going to wrap up today's show. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed the show, please like this episode and subscribe to the I've Had Better Podcast Network. Also, follow us on Twitter, as I said before, at IHB Podcast, and on Facebook. Jim, tell the people how to find you.
I am on Facebook at Jim Langos, and I am also on Twitter, and my Twitter handle is at _Kaiser_Soze. And don't forget to check out the website at www.ihbpodcast.com.
And as always, I am Dominic Demore. You can follow me on Twitter at Dom Demore, that's DOMDEMORE, or on Facebook at Dominic Demore. How was your show this week, James?
I've had better.
Good night, everybody.